This video is showing how to build a controller for WS2812B and similar light strips. The controller is running WLED firmware, so you have a convenient app to control the effects and the colors and all of that good stuff. All of the parts for this build are either 3D printed or available off of Amazon, with the exception of the PCB itself. So this is a custom PCB that I designed. You can find the schematics and everything on the website for that. The input on this is a barrel jack, and then the output is over JST connectors. It also has a fuse. So it's a 5-volt system. The actual building part, the first thing that you're going to do is attach, or go ahead and insert a fuse into the fuse holder, and then insert that into the PCB. You'll also add the power jack as well at this stage. What I like to do here is use a little piece of, it's called blue tack. You'll jam that on top of the power jack. After that, you'll actually do all of the first steps here within the top half of the enclosure. So go ahead and insert those two components and then snap the board in place in the top enclosure. It's a pretty tight fit, but it'll click in place. Once everything's in place here, what you need to do is flatten these tabs. So what I'm trying to do is bend them down, get them flat. I don't do a very good job on this front one here, but the side and the back ones are plenty easy. Following that, you can solder everything into place. The fuse holder is pretty straightforward to solder. I'm using just a generic T12, I believe KSGER is the brand for this iron. The power jack is a little bit trickier to solder because you have a bit of area that you probably should fill, but you have to be careful not to melt the barrel connector underneath. So go slow and just add a little filler material just to close off the holes. So you can see here I've got the top prong. I didn't do a very good job of flattening down that pin, so I'm going to actually have to grind that down later. After this, you're going to want to insert all of the JST connectors. Had a bit of trouble with the top one, but the other two went in easily. Again, I'm going to use some blue tack just to stick these down and make sure they don't move while I'm soldering. And then just solder those three. And then you can remove the blue tack and make sure everything looks nice. After that, you can go ahead and pop the board out of the top of the top enclosure piece. Now we have to solder on the microcontroller. As I mentioned earlier, though, that top pin sticks out a bit too much, so I'm just going to take a Dremel and grind that off real quick. That is the ground pin on the connector, and you risk contacting the USB-C port on the microcontroller, but the outside of that port should also be grounded. Here I'm inserting the spacers on the header pins. The pins have to be facing down, so the USB-C port is facing toward the custom PCB, like this. Once you have it all mounted up, it's just a matter of soldering it all. Once this side is done, go ahead and inspect everything, make sure nothing's bridged. Then I'm going to use some blue tack again just to make sure that the ESP doesn't end up moving while I'm soldering the other side. Do another quick round of inspection, make sure everything looks good, no bridges, no shorts. And then you can permanently put it back into the top enclosure again. Now we have to go flash the firmware. So first thing I'm doing here, I'm going to open up Device Manager and check my COM ports. I currently have COM 1 that's being occupied by something, but after I plug in the USB-C cable here, we see that COM 3 pops up. So on the WLED installer page, all you have to do is hit install, select that COM 3 port, and then click install a couple more times. After that's done, you can go ahead and plug in a LED strip. I have a 30 LED strip that I use just for testing these. Go ahead and set up your Wi-Fi credentials and then click on the Visit Device button here. Make sure everything works, all of your colors are correct and all of that stuff. And then just to wrap up, you take the bottom part of the enclosure, just set that on, and then drop in the 3 screws. Tightening these screws is a little tricky the first time because you have to cut the threads into the bottom enclosure. They're not tapped or anything. So that'll take a little bit of forearm strength the first time, but it's easier after that. And there you have it. There's also this mount piece, so that has a little arm on it, so you can slide it in and mount that. This way you can screw it to like the bottom of a table or on the wall or wherever you end up putting this. You just push on the finger there to release it, and you can flip it around, put it in either direction. And a screw hole in the middle for number 8 screw, I believe. As for polarity, the bottom is going to be your 5 volts, the middle will be your data pin, and then the top will be ground. For the 2 supplemental power connectors, same pattern, power is on the bottom and then ground is on top. Check out the website for all of the designs, and yeah, thanks for watching.